Hey friends, my name is Chrissy. Welcome back to Stronger Every Day. Today we're going to deep dive into a verse and then discuss what that means, what I feel from it, and how it can apply to our life. So let's jump in. It's going to be James 4:7-8. So humble yourselves before God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Come close to God, and God will come close to you. Wash your hands, you sinners, purify your hearts, for your loyalty is divided between God and the world. There's a lot packed into those two verses. I think that's possibly one of the biggest problems we have as humans, as Christians, as anybody, is we're divided. So our loyalty is divided. We want to be Christian. We want to have a relationship with God. We also want to have a relationship with the world, and we want to think things that are important that really aren't. The size of our home, how many clothes we have, the car we drive, the amount in our bank account. And while all those things are good, it's good to have a roof over your head. It's good to have clothes to wear. It's good to have money in the bank to buy, pay your power bill, to pay your water bill. It's good to buy food and pay your mortgage. We also are on a constant treadmill trying to keep up with the world. And what I decided a couple years ago was I was done with the treadmill. And so that's going to tick some people off, because when you decide that God is first, there's not going to be as much room in your life for the other things that you once thought were important. It's sad to me today to see people exhausting themselves to the effort that we exhaust ourselves to pay our $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 mortgage and our $1,000 vehicle car payment, when we're working either one full-time job with overtime or two jobs, or maybe both spouses are working two jobs and overtime. It draws away from the purpose of being on this earth, which is to be God's hands and feet. What I like about this verse, the whole two verses, first question being, is your loyalty divided between God and the world? And I think if a lot of us answer that truthfully, the answer would be yes. When we focus on other things other than God, we're divided. That is Satan's sole purpose. He's not going to come out, he's clever, he's been doing this for a long time, so he's not going to come out and say, I think you should worship Satan. He's going to beat around that bush with it, right? So if he puts the thought in your head that for no other reason than status, you need a bigger home, and so that means going into further debt, or you need a new car, and so that means going into further debt, or your child needs private school, that means going into further debt. You need better clothes and a bigger vacation, and maybe even a vacation home. Again, going into more debt. And so he's pulling us away from God because we're focusing on those things versus focusing on God. That's how Satan wins. Do you think he cares if you're a Satan worshiper? No, he doesn't care. He's already won. You're done, right? Your fate is sealed. You're done. And so he's going after everyone else. I'm not saying that doesn't probably make him enthused, that he's got his little groupies of people that think he's it, but he's coming after those of us who on the day-to-day basis call ourselves Christians. And what it boiled down to me a few years ago in relation to my mental health was, are you gonna start living the life that you have read about, that you have studied about, that you have heard preached about, and that you have actively talked about? Or are you going to stay one foot in the world and one foot with God? And it does not work that way. God would rather you be all in for him, definitely not lukewarm. So the first question is that, are you divided between this world and God? And I think a lot of us would have to answer truthfully, Yes. That's exactly what the devil's going for. If he can put our focus on anything else but God, anything, or even better, multiple things. There's been a lot of times where I could have broke my focus over 2024. And that was with Nick getting sick, with me having some health things, with losing as many fur babies as we did, by in and out of the hospital trips, by moments of being let down in our healthcare industry, by all the loss we experienced in 2024, all the confusing times. There was multiple times that my faith was tested, but also my attention. So if I could focus on all the bad, then I would take my focus off Jesus, and that is exactly what the devil wants. I've noticed Nick and I are starting Bible college. Our church is offering classes, and so it's a 3-year program, and we're starting this year. And right before the payment was due, I talked to Nick and I said, I don't feel worthy to be in the same room with the people that are going to be there. I feel like an imposter, like I'm not worthy. I don't have the biblical knowledge that a lot of these people probably will have coming in. And I said, maybe I'm not supposed to go. It's something that I've been actively looking at for over a year. And Nick said, we didn't go through everything we went through last year to back out now. And he's 100% correct. That was an attack from the devil in every way, shape, and form that he could hit us. He hit us with, and that was him saying, "You're ticking me off, the both of you, running towards God." And so I'm going to do whatever I can do to make you question things and make you stop and break your faith. It backfired on him though, because what it did is push us closer to God. And I would like to say that that's been an easy thing. It hasn't. It's been something that we've had to actively acknowledge, that we're being tested right now, and how are we going to handle this test, right? So it's been interesting, but it's keeping our focus on God. And I have not done that perfectly over this last year. But what I can tell you is I'm not a day better than I was, and you can be too. It's deciding that my focus is God. I'm no longer a part of this world. I'm all in for God. And sometimes that can be a little lonely. I feel like I am kind of, we all as Christians are held to a different standard. Those of us who, you're just held to a different standard. Everybody's kind of looking at you for one of two reasons, either looking to see if you fail or looking to see how you handle things, how you handle challenges, and how you handle this world. And I can tell you 100% that has nothing to do with the way that I handled this past year. Has very little to do, nothing really, with me, and everything to do with God. Another thing is he uses fear, he uses doubt, he uses bad situations, bad circumstances, he uses lies, right? Anything that he can do with his half-truths that can sway your opinion, he uses all of these problems and all of these things to break our focus off God and put it on the problem. 90% of our problems we can do zero about. We can meet God halfway in them. We can keep our faith and we can keep pushing forward. But to think that we alone are going to be able to fix anything is just not true. We have to have God with us. And I wouldn't want to fix anything without God being in charge of it. I am smart enough to know that without God, I am nothing. When I come on here and when you get something from these teachings, it is not Chrissy. It is God coming through me, helping you. I wish that I could say that my goal is to be as Christ-like as possible. I still fail on a semi-regular basis. God sees my heart and he knows I'm running hard for him. There's times when I'll have a bad attitude and I'll think, wow, you're getting ready to go to Bible college and look at your attitude. While that is correct, that's also the devil wanting to put doubts, because if he can stop me, at the bare minimum, if I come out of this school and I do not much with what I've learned more and deeper about Jesus. And that is the goal, is to have a daily relationship with him. We've talked about in many videos that you cannot maintain relationships, good quality relationships with people, and not put any time and effort into it. It just doesn't work. Another thing I like is if we allow him, we will never be who God called us to be. If we allow the devil to win and we allow him to put all of these fears and all these doubts and all these situations and circumstances in our life, and we decide, we don't have time for God right now. I've got a pressing situation, right? I have a pressing health matter or deadline or event that's happening, and so my time is divided. Friends, you will come out much better and much happier on the other end of whatever's going on if you maintain your faith and your love and your relationship with God day in and day out. I think sometimes God, man, Satan loves to get in your mind about this. If you didn't read the Bible that day, well, here you go. Again, there you go. You're putting your time in, but then look at you. You missed the day. That's not God. That is Satan trying to discourage you, to get you to stop. And we have got to take control over our minds, which is the battlefield, and fight back. This verse is telling you step by step the question. What is the question? Is your loyalty divided? If he came out and said worship Satan, we would not do it. It's all about perspective, and it's all about putting things in perspective and what they need to be and how important things are to us. And what I've realized is I love my husband, I love my family, I love my friends, I love my job, I love different things in life. However, none of them is more important than my relationship with God. And if I keep him center and if I keep him first, everything else will fall into place. It's hard sometimes for me when I take time to study. Not because it's hard for me to study. Sometimes it is. My mind just, I made pretty good grades in school, but I had to study to earn those grades. It did not come naturally to me. But in the back of my mind, I'll start thinking, well, you're in here studying, but you're ignoring your husband, or you're ignoring your kids, or there's laundry that needs to be done, or there's this that needs to be done. And that's hard for me sometimes, because it gets on repeat because I'll allow it to, instead of staying focused on what I'm doing. And in essence, the devil won because he's broke my focus on what I'm doing. And what I've learned is that if there's a point where Nick is thinking, man, she's spent all day in there and really hasn't spent any time with me, that God will comfort him. I'm not saying ignore your family, ignore your friends, but I'm saying keep your time with God. It is the most precious time that you will do day in and day out, and that looks different for everybody. I feel like we listen to some people that say, oh, well, I study 2 hours a day, or I study an hour in the day and 3 hours at night, or there is no set in stone that's right for each person. All of us are in different seasons of life, and that's going to look different for everybody. A year and a half ago, I studied a lot longer and more hours in the day than I do now. It's a little bit more, there's more in my life, right? However, I haven't taken that time away from God. So it's going to look different, and it's probably going to look different for you in different seasons of your life. If you have no kids, if you have newborns, if you have teenagers, if you have grandkids, it's going to look different. Each period, each season of your life is going to look different, but it's choosing God first. And it's really comforting to know that when you put him first, everything else is going to fall into place. It doesn't mean that we quit doing good. It doesn't mean we stop working on any other relationship but God. But it's focusing on the most important, and everything else will fall into place and work out. I love this verse again. It's James 4, 7 and 8. I think it makes us have to stop and say, where are you? And when we're living for the world and living in the world, our mental health is going to be much worse. All day yesterday and so far all day today, there's 3 different social media apps that I use, and 2 of them I was spending way too much time on. And so today is day 2 of me spending 0 time on those, and I feel better already. Social media is not a bad thing. However, when we let it control our lives, and when that is our downtime. So when our downtime is coming home and ignoring our family, ignoring our responsibilities, ignoring our chores, and ignoring anything else, and just jumping on our phone and scrolling through social media, that is a problem. And for a while, I justified it as I just need a few minutes to zone out. What started as a few minutes turned into 30, and then an hour, and then 30 minutes before I went to bed. And then as soon as I got up in the morning, I would check one of the apps just to see if there was anything. And you know what? I started realizing it's all ads. It's all propaganda. It's all use this product, use that product, wear this hairstyle, use this makeup, wear this garment, use this cleaner, organic, non-organic, nobody cares, you know, no teal, garden, all the things, right? That, you know, how to be the best you in 12 easy steps. What I realized is that if I put God first, everything else falls into place. That does not mean that I do not have bad days. I still have bad days. There are times that are much harder for me than others. There are days that things go pretty well throughout the day. There are days that I have to really think hard about responses to things that are brought to my attention before I just open my mouth and make my flesh feel better. It's taking that step back, and it's being all in for God. It's being all in. And I wonder sometimes when we struggle with these mental illnesses, if it is because while we love God and we know that He's the only reason we're still here, and I can 1000% say that that's how I felt pre 2.5 years ago. But I was never all in for God. I was in for God, but never all in. You know, there were times He had 80%, there were times He had 20%, there were times He had 50%, but I was never all in for God. And what the devil throws at you is, man, that's going to be a lonely existence. No one's going to like you. You're going to be boring. You're going to be this. No, this is the best person I have been in my entire life. I still have a ways to go. I'm not where I want to be. My goal is to not be like anybody else on this earth. It is to be as Christ-like as possible. And that's something I work towards every single day, knowing I'm never going to be perfect. I'm going to have shortcomings, but that's my heart, and God sees that. He sees it in you too, friend. I hope this video helps. It's always my heart and hope that you feel the last part of this video, and that is this: God loves you. I love you. Your friends, your family love you. And we need you here. We'll see you in the next one, friends. Bye.